Hello and welcome to Azeroth Pro Tyria Noob, the show where World of Warcraft players learn the differences and playstyle needed to try Guild Wars 2. Hopefully you've seen my first video explaining why I think you should be interested in Guild Wars 2, where to buy it, and other tips relating to getting started. If you haven't already, I've posted a link in the description below. Today we're talking about character creation. It's a process that some of us don't put a lot of thought into in WoW anymore, but it's an important process as it will affect your experience in Guild Wars 2. You have a choice between 5 races: Char, Human, Norn, Asura, and Sylvari. There's no benefit of choosing one race over another. They don't have racial bonuses like WoW, so just choose whichever one you think looks the coolest or has the most appealing story. Char are cat-like creatures whose culture has been defined by war and fighting. You could say they're the Tauren-type race, but only in appearance. And even so, their customizability is so broad that they can either look big and burly or shapely felines. They live in a land that they had taken back from the humans in a massive attack that burnt the entire landscape. Humans are fairly self-explanatory. They exist in most MMOs. Norn are like humans, but they're taller and the men are much more burly. Their culture is Viking-themed, and they believe their greatest goal in life is to die a hero with an amazing heroic story that their descendants will talk about forever. They are a nomadic people who live up in the mountains in the snow, and they believe in great animal spirits. The Asura are like the gnomes or goblins of Guild Wars 2, but without the ridiculous explosions. They have a massive intellect, and they believe life should be approached in a sensible, logical, intelligent way. Until 200 years ago, before Guild Wars 2, they were a subterranean race that now live on the surface. Asurans often have robots accompanying them called golems. Finally, there's the Sylvari. Although they look humanoid, they are really plants. They are grown from the pale tree, and they all share the memories the pale tree imparts to them. We don't know much about the Sylvari beyond a story about a soldier called Ronan who found a seed and planted it on his family's gravesite. You could say that the Sylvari are like the Night Elves of Guild Wars 2 in terms of being environmentalists. Once you have selected your race and gender, you will be asked to pick a profession. Before you start looking for leatherworking or mining, let me warn you, in Guild Wars 2, classes are called professions. If someone asks you what your profession is, they're meaning your class. And just so you know, in Guild Wars 2 there is no healer class and no tank class. Everyone gets a self-heal and is responsible for keeping themselves alive. In a group setting, whoever is closest to the mob is the one who has threat. Once you start dying, you're expected to roll away and let someone else take threat while you heal yourself up. All classes have support abilities they can use, but expect to be using them in the thick of fighting. Elementalist. A range caster. Kind of like a mage, but you have a choice of 4 sets of spells. Fire, water, earth, or air once you're in the game. Warrior. Not a lot to say, just your typical hack and slash warrior. You can use ranged weapons though and be ranged DPS in situations where it's not a good idea to melee, and your DPS won't suffer for it. Guardian. Like the paladin, but without the healing. You have a lot of shielding and support abilities to reduce the damage of your whole group. Engineer. This is a new class to Guild Wars 2. You use pistols or guns to do your DPS, and you can build and create turrets and use alchemy for explosions and other effects. If you see someone running around with a backpack on, they're an engineer. It's the only class that gets a visible backpack from the start of the game. Ranger. Like the hunter class, only you can't use guns. Your ranged weapon of choice are bows, and you're just as lethal doing melee combat. Necromancer. Pretty much a combination of a warlock and necromancer NPCs from WoW. Thief, the rogue of Guild Wars 2. You don't get a permanent stealth, but you do get temporary stealth and teleport abilities that seem to be very effective. Mesmer, an illusionist. Some Guild Wars 1 players had trouble understanding what the Mesmer is in Guild Wars 2. As you use your arcane magie abilities, you create copies and illusions of yourself that you can manipulate in different ways. Next, you'll be able to customize the appearance of your character. Take your time. If you need to see skin patterns and colors, you have the option of hiding your armor, and if the color still doesn't seem quite right, turn the background lighting off. You can choose what height your toon is, but you'll be limited to the normal range of the race you have selected. The next option allows you to select your body shape. You can't create a grossly overweight toon. It wouldn't make much sense to be a hero of Tyria and be unable to run around the block. Depending on what race you get, you might also have the option of changing your skin markings and the marking colour. Some markings are for the toon's entire body, so make sure you have your armour hidden. The next tab is choosing your face and skin colour. Don't worry too much if you can't find the right face. You'll have more specialised options later that will let you fine-tune your character. If you want to create a sickly pale necromancer who looks like she's never been in daylight, you can do that. You can also change your hairstyle and colour. Some of the hairstyles include hair accessories, but pick the accessories colour carefully because I don't think this can be changed once you've picked this. Next, as promised, you can fine-tune your toon's face. I'll let you play around with that and figure it out for yourself. You can rotate your toon by right-clicking and dragging it, and there is a zoom in option so you can better see the changes you are actually doing to your toon's face. The last option is armor dyes, an option that we WoW players tried to get Blizz to introduce. Their answer was the transmogging system. The dye system in Guild Wars 2 is much better than Guild Wars 1, as you can choose multiple colours for each item. Once again, don't worry too much if you can't find exactly the right colour. Guild Wars 2 has an extensive dye system with more colours than you can ever be expected to collect, so hopefully you'll find the dye you want once you get in-game and start playing. Now we reach the roleplay type questions. These questions affect a personal story that will be made available to you in-game. There's no wrong answer. Pick whatever you think is the most fun. Be aware that if you're playing with a friend, unless you pick exactly the same options in these questions, you'll get a different personal story to each other. You can help each other with your quests, but unless you both have exactly the same quest, you'll have to do each personal story so you're both up to date. Don't stress too much though. The personal story is just something to make you feel like you're getting a unique experience in Guild Wars 2. You don't have to complete it at level to get to level 80. The first question is a profession-related question. I was questing with a friend in Beta Weekend 3, and so far we haven't seen this question influence the personal story, but I won't guarantee it. Next, it will ask you to choose between charm, dignity, or ferocity. These options are really just for roleplay. Choosing one over the other won't affect your actual progression in the game, and you can change it in-game by choosing a different option when you're asked to give either a charming, dignified, or ferocious response. I'll let you go through the other roleplay questions yourself. If you want a video explaining the lore behind the other questions, let me know in the comments and I'll do that. Finally, you'll be given a summary of your toon's story and will be asked to sign your toon's name at the bottom. You can have spaces in your name. The intended purpose of this in Guild Wars 1 was to have a first and last name, but people tend to get creative and choose names like I like pie or your worst nightmare. You don't have to have spaces in your name, but single word names will be at a high premium. So if you're wanting a certain name, get in quick or someone else will pick it. Like WoW, you can't pick a name that someone else on your server already has. If you're a guest on a server where someone has your name, you will have numbers temporarily put on the end of your name so you aren't mixed up. Once you've selected a valid name, click Next, sit back and watch the cinematic that will start your Guild Wars 2 story. The next video will show you the default key bindings and commands you will have when you first enter the game. Until then, this is Ariantha from Azeroth Pro Tyria Noob, signing off.